The Nike Blazer Mid 77 Vintage. This is one of the most popular sneakers in the last couple of years that you can buy, and I gotta say, rightfully so. It's a really clean sneaker. They've been releasing these in a ton, and when I say a ton, I mean an absolute ton of different colorways. Think about all the colorways that Jordan brands released for the Jordan 1s, and Air Force 1s have been released as well. The Nike Blazer gets a very similar treatment, and that's just because it is such a world-renowned popular sneaker. Now, originally this shoe came out in 1973, and the version we have here is the Blazer Mid 77 Vintage, and the vintage little labeling on it just means that the materials that they have on this shoe and the shape of it is more true to the OG from back in the day. So if you like this nice smooth leather on the top, and then you got the suede on the toe cap, this is going to be something you might like. Now, the particular colorway I have here is the Pacific Blue Sail White colorway. Now, if you want this particular version, it's going to be trickier to find. However, Nike keeps releasing a ton of different variations of this shoe, so I'll leave links in the description down below to a bunch of different places where you guys can buy them, and of course there'll be affiliate links. They don't just have blue colorways, they release a ton of them. Whenever we go to the Nike store at the malls, you guys have seen in the sneaker shopping vlogs, they'll usually have a couple different colorways. Some of them even have some special things going on with them, like most recently they released a jumbo like oversized swoosh one. Those ones have been really trending, and I probably should have reviewed those on the channel as well. With that said, when I bought this particular shoe a couple of years ago, the retail price was 135 Canadian dollars, and since then, just like how Nike has increased the prices of other silhouettes like the Jordan 1 and the Nike Air Force 1, the Nike Blazer Mid is not immune to the prices raising with inflation and just Nike wanting to make more money. These now go for about 140 Canadian dollars plus tax, and depending on the colorway, you can pay a higher premium on them as well. This shoe is super basic, however, it is a really great blank canvas for customizing. So if you're a shoe customizer, or you just want to, you know, see what other artists and designers have done to the shoe, there's so many collaborations out there that you can look for. So if you want to stand out from the sea of Nike Blazers, you can. Now, on the note of collaborations, there is one particular shoe that has given the shoe a lot of hype. It definitely made it become a sneaker that sneakerheads would want in their collection, not just like regular everyday people. Like, this is a shoe that is not really necessarily going to have sneakerheads go crazy. Now, if you want those particular shoes, they're very expensive. I think the last time I looked at the Nike Blazer Off-White, it's like $1,000+ or something really high. So if you want to save some money, pay 10% of the price, just go to your local Nike, go to your local mall. You'll be able to find a lot of these Nike Blazers on sale sometimes too, even at the outlet. Now, in terms of resale pricing, well, these used to have some resale value when they first came out, because this was a part of like a 3-pack of Nike Blazers that pretty much was the initial wave of the Nike Blazer mid hype, really coming back in like 2018, 2019 when I got this exact shoe. The other colorways that have come out since then are very close to it, so any reason to want to pay resale value to get these exact colorways is honestly mitigated when you just see the other colorways and how a slight shade change of the color blue will save you a couple $100s. It just doesn't make sense to pay resale value for a GR sneaker. History of this shoe, it dates back to the 1970s, and similar to how the Chuck Taylor Converse was like the go-to basketball shoe at the time, even though it lacks pretty much all really good technology for a basketball shoe, the Nike Blazer was also known as a basketball shoe, which just has now become an everyday kind of sneaker, which you will not be caught dead playing basketball in these. You do not want to play basketball in these. There are way better shoes. Now, my first impression of this shoe is, well, it was super basic. Most Nike Blazers, the most interesting thing they have going on with them is the color of the swoosh. So with that said, let's take a closer look at these shoes, show you guys the detail, and then we're going to talk about sizing and all the other stuff. So the first thing you're going to notice is this has a clean, smooth, all white leather upper. Now, the leather on the shoe is actually pretty decent. It feels even better than what you would get on a typical Nike Air Force 1, which feels really cheap. Now, the leather being actually pretty decent on this might be because it has the vintage labeling, but if you were looking to find any Blazers, honestly, the leather quality isn't isn't going to be something you're going to be bragging about. They're all going to be pretty close from what I've seen in stores. You also have the blue Nike swoosh on the side. Now this blue swoosh wraps around the entire shoe. However, there are colorways out there where you'll have one color on one side and one color swoosh on the other. Going down the center of the shoe, these come with just white laces, white flat laces. They don't come with anything extra. I honestly wouldn't want to switch out the laces with anything. The all white look is really, really clean. You don't want to mess that up. Also, it has this weird, not weird, but it's different if you're not used to it. It has like the old school foam kind of tongue. This is very similar to also what you're gonna find on like a Nike Cortez, which we became pretty used to seeing when Virgil really popularized it with his collaborations with Nike and Jordan brand. And then at the top of the tongue, you have that Nike tag stitched in. It looks really cool. It looks like the OG like Nike logo, and it's super clean, super simple, and it only has the orange swoosh. In terms of the top of the shoe right here, the collar, it actually goes for leather on leather. Sometimes there's gonna be canvas on the shoe depending on the exact Nike Blazer, but the Nike Blazer 77 vintage, they use the same soft leather that they have on the outside of the shoe. Taking a look at the back of the shoe, you have that Nike logo in blue, and it kind of has like a almost faded kind of look to it. However, it's not really faded at all. If you actually touch it, it's just like a kind of like stamped on. And then taking a look at the midsole, you have a sail midsole, so it's not a crispy clean white to match the entire upper of the shoe. That's where the sail color code comes in on the box. Now, if you want to buy a Nike Blazer, they make the low and the mid top version. I honestly haven't seen the high top version, and I would recommend going your true size. Whatever size you normally are in your Nike sneakers or just shoes in general, go with that size. I'm usually a size 10 in everything. I grabbed a size 10 in these and they fit perfectly. Now, in terms of comfort, they're not the most comfortable shoe in the world, but you can kind of expect that when you're buying a very like, you know, vintage kind of looking shoe where the tech is not going to be updated at all. So it does feel very, very flat. If you're a person who likes to go to the gym and work out and maybe do squats, I know a lot of people like to work out in Chuck Taylors. This is also another option a lot of people like to work out in, just because the sole of the shoe is quite flat and there's no like arch support or anything like that. I also do like the fact that it is really high top here, so it does lock in your ankle, so you're not gonna have to worry about yourself twisting your ankle, because I've worn some shoes where there's like zero ankle support and it's pretty bad. When it does come to the summer months, it can get pretty sweaty, but we're going into fall season right now, so you're probably not gonna have to worry about that. So my comfort rating out of 10 for this shoe would have to be, I'd say like a 6, nothing crazy. It's pretty after a long day of walking around and just doing a lot of stuff. You might feel your feet ache at the end of the day after a long day. This is a fantastic shoe for when it comes to matching and putting together outfits. The options for these Nike Blazers are endless. So this is the blue colorway, right? But if you were to get like just the regular black colorway, which you can find on Nike's website right now, link down below, it can literally go with everything. And girls will compliment your fits, they'll compliment your shoes if you keep them clean. This is a shoe, honestly, too, that does look good as it ages, similar to an Air Jordan 1, where you're not gonna mind beating them up as much. Like for my Nike Off-White Blazers, I hardly clean these. For the Blazers, these themselves here, I've never cleaned these once and they still look really solid. Compare that to an Air Force 1, those can get really crusty looking over time. One thing I would change about the shoe is how hard it is to put on your feet sometimes. You really gotta loosen it up so your foot can go in, because if the laces are too tight here, you can't just shove your foot in and go compared to something like an Air Jordan 1 or an Air Force 1. Now in terms of alternative sneakers to these, there are so many options available. It just really comes down to your personal taste, but this is like an old school white leather sneaker. So you can go with things like Converse Chuck Taylor, you can go with the Air Jordan 1, but honestly this is probably the more low-key, like one of the most low-key versions of a white leather shoe that you can get. If you made it to this point in the video, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the Nike Blazer Mid 77 vintage. It doesn't have to necessarily be about this color, but I'd love to get your thoughts on the shoe. If you own a pair, if you've ever considered buying a pair, and if maybe you know someone who owns a pair. With that said, if you like this video, click on screen right now to watch another one that YouTube thinks you're gonna like the most, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in that one. Peace out.